What was that last night, Festive? To finish off the game? That's right. It was what was that called? It was called a game-winning drive. Oh my! Who did the game-winning drive, Festive? That's right. The jersey that you have on, number 11. That would be that Carson Wentz, right? Now, Festive, there's a lot of people out there who believe that Carson Wentz couldn't do a game-winning drive because there's been issues in the past. So, what do you think those people are saying right now? That's right, nothing. Yes. Eagles win. Eagles win. Eagles win. Oh, it's been a while since we've been able to say that. Almost just about a calendar month since we can see with the bye week and then the 3 straight losses that we could say that the Eagles are victorious. They defeated the New York Football Giants 23-17. Stop me if you've heard this before, Eagles Nation. The Eagles beat Eli Manning and the Giants. Yes, I know. It's almost as sure as taxes every year. It seems to happen quite often. Now Eli is, of course, 10-22 in his career. I misspoke. I thought he was 10-20. He was actually 10-21 in his career versus the Eagles. Make that 10-22 against the Eagles. The Eagles have certainly owned Eli over the years. We've seen Eli face many a time. And last night, look, the game did not start very well. It was ugly. It was as ugly as the weather was out there. Kudos to all the Eagle fans out there, and at the link last night. Making their voices heard, whether it was some boos, and then in the first half, and then cheers in the second half. And look, the team deserved to get booed in the first half. It was ugly, ugly, ugly. Eagles down by 2 touchdowns at halftime, 17-3. Look listless. Obviously had some injuries. Lane Johnson, Alshon Jeffrey. Another one of those, stop if you've heard that one before. Alshon Jeffrey gets hurt. Probably out for the rest of the season, it looks like. Lane Johnson, I think they said it's a week-to-week deal, but we'll see. And it's obviously tough. You're going to lose players. Again, I look at Howie, and the fact is that, listen, I mean, Howie, it's been well stated, this has not been a good season for Howie. I don't feel that he's put this team in the best situation to have success with injuries. They have been paper thin at certain in certain areas. At the wide receiver position, you're basically releasing wide receivers every week, making you that much thinner. And yes, there are injuries to the wide receiving position. I know he hasn't been great, but Aguilar has had an injury of some sort of injury over the past few weeks. Now, Alshon going to be out, and now you're left with a lot of inexperience at that position. Arcega-Whiteside, a rookie. Ward, a guy that came off the practice squad a few weeks ago. He's played well, but not a lot of experience on the field. And even if you get Aguilar back this week, which it seems like he could come back for the Redskins game, I mean, you're still thin at that position. Now, maybe you delve into the practice squad again, bring up another guy. I heard today they were complimenting on the radio, who they should get, whether it's Michelle or some other receiver that they have on the practice squad, or do they make it, that they do have, they still have Jordan Matthews on speed dial, so I'm sure, his name will float around a little bit. But I don't know. I look at Howie. I see there was moves to be made there, even when you had not as many injured bodies at the wide receiver position. It was an area where you needed to upgrade, particularly with the fact that you had older, injury-prone receivers on this team, like Deshaun Jackson, like Alshon Jeffrey. Of course, D-Jax was out after week 1. We saw him for a cameo appearance against the Bears, and Then he goes ahead and gets the surgery, and now, they say that, well, if the Eagles, do make the playoffs, do get past the first round, it's possible that he can come back for the second round, and we'll see. Obviously, we have to get there first. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves just yet. But the fact of the matter is, and a game like last night, I mean, look, you already have, you go into the game with, what, 3 wide receivers? And of course, Jeffrey gets hurt, so now you're down to 2. And towards the end now, Arcega-Whiteside is walking off the field. Now you're down to 1. You got 3 tight ends, a couple running backs, a wide receiver, Carson, and a partridge in a pear tree. That's basically what you were down to at the end of that game. But nonetheless, again, and coming off a win, I really don't want to make this video about Howie. But again, you look at what they had on the field last night, and it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing that at this point of the season, this is what we have. When you could have made a move, like the San Francisco 49ers did, to get Emmanuel Sanders from the Denver Broncos. He was available. It wouldn't have taken that much to get Emmanuel Sanders. You would have strengthened the position. He was a receiver that fits this offense. I have no idea why Howie just was basically falling asleep behind the wheel all season. You talk about 2017 as Howie's best year as a GM. Obviously, Howie was a big part of this team winning a championship. But certainly this year, it's been his worst. And it's well documented. All the moves that he didn't make. And not just the big moves. Not just guys like Jalen Ramsey and Minkah Fitzpatrick and Jadeveon Clowney. But, a move to strengthen the wide receiver position that doesn't involve bringing Jordan Matthews off the scrap heap. Or bringing in Ward off the practice squad. You had a chance to get a legitimate wide receiver in Emmanuel Sanders, and you just sat there twiddling your thumbs, saying, oh, it's okay. We're going to get guys. And again, this is Howie just believing way too much in the players that are here. Instead of addressing needs, going outside and finding players that do fit the schemes elsewhere. And I don't know if he was just afraid because the Golden Tate deal didn't work last season because the coaching staff didn't know how to use him. I have no idea. But I'm looking at this game last night, and at the end of the game, and look, thankfully they won. But you're so deprived at the wide receiver position. It is unbelievable how deprived this team is. And they just let guys go every week. Yep, Mac Hollins, I know he's not much to write home about, but at least he's a body out there. No, it's good, but we'll just release him. It's fine. Jordan Matthews, okay, he came in here. Now we see why he was out there. He's gone. It's just mind-boggling. Some of these decision-making process that the brain trust has made this season. It's also mind-boggling how many injuries this team has. It's just every week there's another. It's not just. It's like a handful of injuries every week. We still don't know what happened to Jordan Howard. You have guys just dropping every week. I've never really seen a season. Now, in 2017, they had some injuries to overcome. But it wasn't like this. This is just a mash unit every week. Okay? And it's just ridiculous. I don't know why it is every week that Eagles are getting hurt. And the other team, you might have a guy walk off the field a little bit and then he's back a few plays later. The Eagles is like, well, here comes another couple of injuries. Here, have an offensive lineman, have a receiver, have a defensive back. It's every week. It's unbelievable. All of that said, of course, listen, there have been different schools of thought about the game last night. There is the people who say, well, how could you have been behind 17-3 to a horrible Giants team? And you had to do everything you had to do just to win, just to beat the Giants. And then there's a school of thought of people who feel, well, it was a great win. Carson Wentz, come from behind victory, down 2 touchdowns in the second half, down a touchdown late in the second half, drove them down the field, got a touchdown, tying touchdown to Zach Ertz, and then in overtime, goes down the field, scores a touchdown, game-winning touchdown to to Zach Ertz. And I'm reminded of last season where, for those out there who don't think Carson Wentz can win games and have comeback wins and game-winning drives, Elway-esque game-winning drives, I do remember the game in Dallas last season where twice down a touchdown in the fourth quarter, he got him down the field and they scored a touchdown. It wasn't his fault they didn't get the ball in overtime. That's just it. I mean, look, Eli didn't get the ball in overtime last night. So it is what it is. And I know it's just one example, but I know what Carson Wentz is capable of doing. And I know he's capable of being a very good franchise quarterback for many years with this team. As I said before, I think part of it is coaching. I think part of it's play calling. And last night, in the first half, it was, again, you had the Manila play calling. Not allowing your quarterback to play to his strengths. And it's almost unfair that it took them being down 17-3 in the second half with guys dropping like flies to figure out, okay, Carson, maybe we'll start rolling you out a little bit, let you make some plays with your feet, and here comes a little dump out pass here and there, and it produces big gainers. Because the defense has to pursue Carson, and when you over pursue the quarterback, here's a wide open running back or a tight end or whoever down the field, and you get the ball to, and there's a big play. And look, Boston Scott had a big game last night. Boston Scott was a big reason why the Eagles won as well. Carson obviously great second half. Obviously, the first half was just slop. The second half was, my goodness, where has this been all year? But listen, a lot of credit has to go to the coaching staff for making those adjustments. My God, they can do it. It's a miracle. To Carson Wentz and to guys like Boston Scott who stepped up. The defense in the second half stepped up. We're able to get pressure on Eli. I don't know why they didn't choose to get more pressure on him in the first half. Why Jim Schwartz just kind of let the defense hang out back there. I mean, Eli, that's what you got to do. You got to get him pressure. He goes down. How many times do we see Eli in the second half, just when there was a defender, maybe a couple footsteps away from him, and he kind of goes down. We're used to seeing that with Eli over the years. And then the second half, we're like, oh, yeah, that looks familiar. Again, it could be a maddening game, and sports just has that. There's that game, and then there's a lot of armchair quarterbacking afterwards, and it's just like, what was working in the second half? Why in the world weren't we doing this in the first half? Maybe we wouldn't be down 17-3 in the first half if this was happening. I don't know, but whatever it is, I will say this. I will take this win. I will always take a win, and I am one of those who believe very firmly, that I don't care how you win. I don't care what the circumstances are, what the situation is. At this point in the season, when you're in a winnable division and you're in a division race with another opponent, in December, wins are wins are wins. If you can have more of the numbers going up in the W column than in the L column, you're going to be okay. You're going to have a shot. It's not the Eagles' fault that the Cowboys are falling apart at the seams. Okay, it's not their fault that they're in a division that they're in where the Redskins and the Giants are playing for draft picks. I will show you the NFC South division. You think the Saints care that they won that division, that the other teams are all below 500 in that division, or hovering around 500, some of those teams? It doesn't matter to them. They won a division title, and they're more than likely going to be one of the top seeds in the NFC playoffs. Look, they benefited being in that division this year. Really the past few years. It hasn't been a great division, the NFC South. And now you have the NFC East where, Dallas is falling apart. All the teams in the NFC East are either at 500 or below. Maybe not the record that the Saints have, but we're in a division that's hasn't been very good this season and really the last few seasons. It's been maybe the Eagles and Dallas just about every year the past few seasons, It's not the Eagles' fault. They have nothing to do with what the Redskins are doing or aren't doing, or what the Giants are doing or aren't doing, or the fact that Dallas just can't control things. keeps their clapper head coach. It's not the Eagles' fault. The Eagles are just, all the Eagles can do right now is take care of what's in front of them. And what's in front of them is look, Dallas has given you opportunities to take the reins of this division this season. And last night, the Eagles did what they couldn't do a week ago against a winnable opponent. And I will say this, for people to say, oh, well, they beat a 2-win Giants team. Well, we lost to a 2-win Dolphins team a week ago when the Eagles approached that game like it was a vacation. That's why they lost that game. If they approached that game last week with the mental fortitude and understanding the importance of it, and we can't just overlook the Dolphins, you got to play this team as it, you got to go into these games with like the record is 0-0 of every game. And I know it's easier said than done. It's easy for me to say. I'm sitting here on a couch, not having any, never playing a down in the NFL. But that's the approach that you have to have. If you go into these games with the approach that, oh, it's a 2-win team, we can just show up and win, you're going to lose. And against Miami, that's what happened. And in the first half of the game, and I know it was a sloppy condition game, but that was what was going on. Listen, it's an NFC East game. I don't care what the records of these teams are. They're going to, it's going to be tight, tough games. You look at the Eagles, Giants, historical record against one another. Now the Eagles, with that win last night, have a 1-game lead on the Giants. But that just shows you how close these teams have been. And how close how many of these games, what they do. It can go either way. And I know most of the games in recent years have gone the Eagles' way, but again, the Giants, look, there's been circumstances. It took Miracle in the Meadowlands. It took a 61-yard field goal. It took, different events to happen to beat that team. So it's not like, they're just some pushover. It's an NFC East opponent. And this time of year, it's even that much more dangerous to play division opponents, even if they don't have much to play for, because they got nothing to lose. Well, the Giants had to lose it last night. The Eagles had everything to lose. And luckily and happily, the Eagles were able to come back and win that game. And Carson Wentz went on a game-tying late fourth quarter drive and a game-winning overtime drive, throwing the game-winning touchdown to Zach Ertz. And again, I don't care what the records are. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care that right now the Eagles are playing a 3-win Redskins team. The approach going into that game has to be business, all business. Because if you lose your sense of it, you're going to lose. If you let your guard down, that's when you're going to get bitten. And again, it's a winnable game. You're playing. It's like two teams are playing each other with. It's like a mass unit for both teams this Sunday. But we'll see. The deal of it is, it's very possible that the Eagles beat the Redskins, that the Rams, who have resurgence here in the last few weeks, can go to Dallas and beat Dallas, and then the Eagles have the division lead, and it comes down to next week. And if the Eagles beat Dallas and take care of business, they get shirts and hats, they win the division, and they'll have a home game in the wild card round of the postseason. And as a fan, I want this team in the postseason. I don't care what division they're in, what's going on. It doesn't matter to me. I want this team in the playoffs. I'd rather see Carson Wentz with playoff experience, and any Eagle fan should too. Because I got news. He's. Look, he has to be the guy. If you think that, okay, we'll get Nick Foles back, that's not going to happen. And it's certainly not going to be McCown or Sudfeld or any other quarterback on the team. It's going to be Carson Wentz. He has to be the guy. It has to work with him. Like it or not, he's your franchise quarterback. And any Eagle fan, look, you have to hope he does well. Because as he goes, the team's going to go. So I'd rather see him get the playoff experience this season, even if they don't, make it to the Super Bowl or to the NFC title game or whatever. I'd rather see him this season get that postseason experience under his belt so that he's better off for it going forward. And who knows? You sneak in, Stranger things have happened. That team we beat last night, they snuck in before and won a Super Bowl. Stranger things have happened. Do I expect that to be the way with the Eagles? There's a lot of good teams. I can't say with a straight face I do. I can't. Particularly if they play the way they did in the first half yesterday, or defensively if like they did against the Dolphins a week ago. But can this team put it together, on both sides of the ball? For a full game, we have to see that still. We have to see that still. There's still been some inconsistencies. I know there's a lot of injuries, but we have to see that still. Coaching staff still has to do a better job. But what I liked about the game last night is that Carson took that game over. He took the game. He put the team on his back. I said, all right, boys, follow me. I'm leading. And that's what we wanted to see from Carson. And I knew he had that in him. I've seen that before. Maybe not in every game. But I know he's got that competitive fire and competitive juices in him, to lead and to win games. And I was glad to see that. I am. Again, I don't care. The Giants were a 2-win team. It doesn't matter. It's a division opponent. And playing division opponents late in the year, it's a dangerous thing, no matter what the records are, because they're going to play you tough. Again, they have nothing to lose. The Redskins have nothing to lose this week. It's a dangerous team. And I understand there's probably going to be a ton of Eagle fans there in Washington and taking over that stadium and all, but it's still, don't overlook Washington. Take care of the business. Go there, win that game. Whatever happens in the Dallas game, it's still probably going to come down to win or lose for Dallas that next week against them to win this division. The records in this division withstanding, it doesn't matter to me. Win the division. It's winnable. It's there. Get it done. Because, like I said before, I would much rather go into a postseason with my team in it than have to be on the outside looking in. And I'd much rather have Carson Wentz have that playoff experience under his belt this season, regardless of what happens. I am, I would hope they, hey, I'm the Eagle, the Eagle fan in me says, yeah, I would love to go on a long run. Do I think it's, plausible? Maybe not. But I've seen a lot of more stranger things go on in football over the years. I think they even had a stat of like the last how many wild card teams were able to win the wild card game at home, or the wild card game. The lower seeded teams have been able to win, or whatever it is. They gave some stat like that, record wise, whatever the record wise, even if they were hosting the game or on the road or whatever it was. Hey, years ago we saw the Seahawks get to the playoffs at 7-9, win a bad division, and it produced one of the all-time great playoff moments with the Beastquake, Marshawn Lynch against the defending champion Saints. Who would have thought the Seahawks would have beaten the defending champion New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees and all of that season? But they did it, and we had one of the all-time great moments in playoff history with the Beastquake, Marshawn Lynch. I'll never forget that moment. That was something else, watching that. So all I'm saying is, you know what? Again, records be damned. You have a chance against Washington to get a dub, just like you did against the Giants. And then it comes down to that Week 16 against Dallas. And you get that victory, you get that dub, more than likely you're going to have T-shirts and hats after the game. You're going to celebrate a division championship. And anytime you win a division, it is cause for celebration. It takes work to do it, even in a bad division. So that's what I would be hopeful for. And even if for whatever reason it comes down to Week 17, well, if we have to beat the Giants, we kind of know how to do that. So, I still feel it's right in front of them, even with the injuries, the inconsistencies with the coaching staff, with the players. I still feel it's right in front of them, and they have it to get it done. They just have to get it done. So again, I take a lot from last night. I think it showed a lot for the team. I think, down 17-3, it could have gone the other way. I mean, it could have been a blowout the other way, but the Eagles, they turned it around in the second half, fought through the injuries, played a much better second half. Carson Wentz was precise with what he wanted to do, letting him use his feet, roll him out a few times. I said, he's one of the most accurate passers rolling out. Use it more, and I don't understand why the coaching staff won't do this. But great game, great second half, for him. He led. And he got the victory. He had a game-winning drive in overtime. He had a game-tying drive in the fourth quarter, down a touchdown. And no matter what the opponent is, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. So I'm glad we saw that. Overcoming the elements and the weather, and how it's gone the last 3 weeks to get a dub. A big home win. So, for those of you who were at the game, you got treated to a great victory. Look, it's December. It's December, and you're in a tight division race with Dallas. You have a chance to win a division. You win the games in December, more than likely, you're going to win the division. It's like every game's a playoff game, basically. So you win these games in December, you're going to win the division. Between the Eagles and Dallas, it's whoever wins the most games in December is going to decide who wins this division. And right now, the Eagles are ahead of them. And they're tied in record, but they got a W in December, where Dallas still has to do so. And they got a tough one this week at home against the Rams. So, winnable game for the Eagles against the Redskins, tough one for Dallas against the Rams. Hopefully it holds serve. Hopefully the Eagles win, Dallas loses, and then it comes down to beating them in Week 16 at home. And a game that could even get flexed to Sunday night, so we'll see. Boy, they can't make it easy. There's going to be drama. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be, just pull your hair out moments. But that's the life of an Eagles fan. That's what it is. It can't be easy. Like I said, we're not one of those charm teams, that just has it easy all the time. We got to do work. We got to do work, and we got to hope that, that they do what they have to do to win these games. Because like I said, I don't care what this division is. Make the playoffs is making the playoffs. You're in. And you get in, you have a shot. You don't have a shot if you're not in. Sitting at home, you don't have any shot. You get in with a home playoff game for the wild card, you have a shot. Win that game, maybe you have some momentum behind you. You get D-Jax back maybe for the second round. Hey, things could look a lot different. But again, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, okay? It's a week-to-week thing. And right now, it's coming off a big dub, and I do feel it was a big W last night. To go to this game against Washington, hopefully get that win. And then again, huge game, Week 16 against the team we all love to hate around here. So get to it. Get to it on a 2-game winning streak, have some momentum. And we take it as we can. So look, character win last night. Again, more injuries. I mean, stop me if you heard this before. Every week there's going to be injuries. I don't know what they're going to do with wide receiver. I guess Aguilar might be back for the game. Are they going to go to the practice squad? Are they going to give good old Jordan Matthews a call? I don't know. People have talked about Antonio Brown. I kind of joked about it last night with Big Slim over the phone, but that's not going to happen. So basically, it's whatever you have in house, whether it's practice squad or maybe you give Jordan Matthews a call. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, they do have to field an semblance of some sort of wide receiver core for this Sunday, hopefully, but we'll see. The tight ends can play like wide receivers too. Obviously, they have some running backs who are good at pass catching, like Sanders, Boston Scott. Kind of came out of nowhere last night. But that's what you need. Hey, so you see it all the time in the NFL. You see these teams and these players just come out of nowhere to have some success late in the season, or due to injury, they're thrown in there. And, they just become household names. So it happens, and we'll see what happens. Like I said, this week again, a winnable opponent, a team that's licking some wounds too, in Washington, some injuries. So, we'll see how this thing goes down on Sunday. Hopefully, it's a comfortable win. Would be nice to kind of sit back and not be on the edge of the seat the whole time. But yeah, we'll see. But again, I'm glad they won this game last night. And to Bones and all the Giants fans out there, you know who owns you. No matter what the situation, what the records are, you know. You know. Eli knows. Eli knows. 10-22. All right, Eagles Nation. Well, we go out with a chuckle, but great win last night. A game-winning drive by Carson Wentz. Good to see. And look, anytime you get a win in December in a tight division race, it's a big win. They're all big from here on out. All right, Eagles Nation. I will see you again later in the week, festive as well. We'll have the weekly preview vid for the upcoming game. Of course, in this case, it's against the Redskins. Festive will have the Festive Four. So again, big win last night. Hey, big win in the raindrops, and let's make a habit of this here going forward. Okay. All right, Eagles Nation, take care. I'll see you in the next one. Go Birds!